Hey everybody, Josh Peck here. Welcome to the Sharpening Report. So I wanted to talk about how quantum physics, Gnosticism, and New Age actually have some connections. And I thought this would be a good topic to get into today. By the way, if you haven't had a chance, make sure you subscribe and click the bell to turn on all notifications. And I should mention too, if you want if you want the text to this video so you can read along or so you can have it for yourself, there's a couple different ways you can do that. You can become a member at dailyrenegade.com, and not only do you get full videos, many times we only put up half the video on YouTube because of censorship issues, but you'll get not only will you get the full video, but you can also download a PDF of text. It's basically the script of the video. So you have all the references, you have all the information, you can refer back to it later. Yeah, you can download it as a PDF to have as your very own. So if you want to do that, dailyrenegade.com. If you don't want to download an extra file and you just want to view it like on a web page, you can go to joshpeck.substack.com. And the great thing about that is not only do you get the text of all the videos, but you also get the audio only podcast version of everything that we do here. So a lot of people just want the audio because they're doing chores in the house or they're driving in the car and they don't want to deal with having to watch a video. So if you want that is joshpeck.substack.com. The best thing to do is just get them both, and then you got the best of both worlds. Okay, so let's get into it. Now, I've always been fascinated by various aspects of science and Christianity. I remember as a child brought up in a Christian home, I had an extreme hunger for discovery that would sometimes get me into trouble. So when I was around 10 years old, I received a chemistry set as a gift. And that evening, unbeknownst to my mother, I opened the chemistry set, I discarded the instructions, and I decided to just go at it on my own. Well, within 10 minutes of mixing random chemicals, my mother and I were experiencing intense headaches from the fumes, and our house smelled like sulfur for days after. Needless to say, my mom was not amused about that. Later on in life, I became more interested in the idea of science in the Bible. I remember learning about Matthew Fontaine Maury, an oceanographer who first discovered underwater currents by taking the Psalms of the Bible literally, because there's a psalm that actually talks about basically underwater currents, like rivers that are under the water. Well, that was one of the first examples that I had ever heard concerning someone using the Bible to initiate a scientific discovery. Well, it wasn't soon after that I began hearing Christian apologists and evangelicals using science to back up the claims of the Bible. I would hear this in terms of like refuting evolution, and trying to, determine the age of the Earth. Once I learned of some of the strange claims made within the science of quantum physics, I began to wonder if the Bible contained any additional information. And that's actually what led me to write the book Quantum Creation. And actually, I should mention, too, the information that we're talking about today comes from that book, Quantum Creation. And if you want to get that, the best place to go is prophecywatchers.com. You can get that in my book, Cherubim Chariots. They go together really well. But the main idea with all of this is that science and religion do not have to be mutually exclusive. So Einstein himself wrote, quote, "Science without religion is lame. Religion without science is blind," end quote. So true science and true religion should be able to go hand in hand without any conflict. So the problem is not that science doesn't agree with religion. The problem is certain interpretations of science don't always agree with certain interpretations of religion. So at times, a scientific observation will be made, and the scientist making the observation will provide the interpretation, basically what it means. Now, while the actual observation reflects truth, the interpretation of the observation may not. So a good example of this is Charles Darwin and his observation of life on the Galapagos Islands. Now, while he may have accurately described what he was seeing, his interpretations did not contain the same level of truth. So he saw similarities, but he interpreted that differently. So this happens with religion too. We can look at this from an honest and personal perspective. How many times have you or I thought we knew something about the Bible only to study further and discover that we were wrong? Any honest person who's actively involved in objective Bible study will admit that this can happen quite often. Nobody has perfect theology. Now, while we know the Bible does contain 100% truth, our interpretations of the Bible are not always as accurate. If they were, we would all agree on everything, and there would be no separate denominations, and we wouldn't argue over things like the timing of the rapture and stuff like that. So throughout my life, I've looked into a wide variety of sciences, but quantum physics was always the one that fascinated me most. Now, while many interpretations of quantum physics can be unbiblical and even a bit new agey, we don't need to throw the entire study out. We can make the same observations and come to different conclusions that line up with the Bible. So, for example, just because certain physicists will state that quantum physics supports the idea of an impersonal and unconscious God or force, that doesn't mean that you have to accept that interpretation if you choose to believe in the science of quantum physics. The fact is, something strange is happening on a quantum level. Many individuals go to ideas of multiple universes, faster than light travel, or even extraterrestrial involvement to explain some of these things. But we have to keep in mind that many, not all, and possibly not even most, but many physicists are trying to explain these things outside of a biblical worldview without God. So, for example, while certain physicists and cosmologists will struggle with the idea of what caused the Big Bang, we Christians, all we have to do is open the Bible and look to the book of Genesis. This in no way should make us feel that we're better or smarter than these physicists, lest we fall into pride. Rather, it should make us realize that we are all searching for answers. So concerning things like this, we are looking at the same problem from different angles. We as Christians just have the extra help from the Creator the Creator of all, to put things into perspective for us. So let's talk about why science is often an enemy of theology. No one gets into full-time ministry to make money. At least no one should. Given that, Daily Renegade accepts donations from those who care to help keep us going. Now, because Daily Renegade does not want to be told by the government what we can and can't say, we're not 501c3, so your donations are not tax deductible, but that's not why you're giving anyway, to get something back for yourself. Speaking of which, we here are never going to promise that if you donate, God will reward you with even more financial success. We're not about making promises for God here. But what I can promise is your donations are very much appreciated and help the continuation of everything we do here at Daily Renegade to reach the world with the truth of the Bible. Also, as many of you know, my son Nathan has had some very serious medical issues that we are treating with good, all-natural and holistic remedies. But of course, those are very expensive and are not covered by insurance, so your donations help go towards his health care as well. If you can't afford to donate, you can always donate your time in prayer, which is far more valuable anyway. Let's be serious. So pray for our wisdom, pray for God's guidance for us, and that we never lose focus on what's really important, which is using Daily Renegade as a light of truth that the world so desperately needs right now, especially in these times. As always, thank you so much for your generosity, and I pray God blesses you greatly. Quantum physics is sometimes used as support for some rather strange theological teachings. So in reality, these teachings stem from an interpretation of science and not the science itself. We can see this by looking at how the theology is far older than the science of quantum physics. So if the theology predates the science, then clearly the science is not needed for the theology to exist. So in short, the science of quantum physics is not at fault for the anti-biblical teachings sometimes attached to it. Rather, it's the fault of the scientific interpreter. So the way I understand it, is that the spiritual world described in the Bible and the dimensions of space above our own that quantum physics describes are essentially the same thing. You know, we're dealing with a reality that, according to the Bible, demons and fallen angels inhabit. Sometimes it's necessary for God to send one of his holy angels through this realm in order to deliver a message to a mortal man. However, such as described in the book of Daniel, they are sometimes met with restraint from the denizens of this strange realm. So as Christians, we may call this place the second heaven, beyond the veil, or just quite simply the spiritual world. Most New Agers might call it the astral plane. Now, concerning this place, there is a duality and a dichotomy of views between Christianity and New Age theology. Both believe in its existence of the spiritual world, but Christianity recognizes it as a place that we are forbidden to travel, whereas a New Age theology celebrates traversing to higher dimensions. It's usually called astral projection. So what we have are two separate teachings about a single spiritual environment. So how do we know which teaching is true? Well, for us Christians, the answer is simple. Just consult the Bible. But that answer isn't always easy for everyone. Some people, Christians and non-Christians alike, have trouble relying on only one book, or rather one collection of 66 books, to define their entire belief system. And many times they will feel the Bible is not sufficient to answer all of their questions. I myself used to have this same outlook, which is what led me into the dangerous world of New Age theology, which I've talked about many times on this channel before. And actually, New Age theology might better or more accurately be known as Gnosticism, which we're going to talk about in just a second. Most people normally would not equate New Age with Gnosticism, let alone say that they are the same thing. But when examined, the similarities are striking. So let's get into some of the basics of Gnosticism. The way the spiritual world works is described quite differently in Gnosticism when compared against the Bible. Even the idea of an ultimate creator is skewed. The best place to begin with this is the story of creation itself. So in Gnosticism, the ultimate creator is more of a force than a personal being. And this force is sometimes called the true God or the light. Gnostics view this force as impersonal, yet able to create personal gods known as eons or aeons. The original impersonal force is neither male nor female, but it brings forth male and female aeons. These aeons exist in the middle realm of a three-tiered creation. Gnosticism teaches that our physical realm is the bottom tier. The top tier is where the impersonal creator force is, and the created aeons exist in the middle tier. Gnosticism teaches that ages ago, these male and female aeons procreated and, in a sense, produced other aeons. Gnosticism also teaches that when all these aeons are together under the true light, everything is in harmony. This is called the fullness. It conveys the idea that the aeons are the expressions of the true light. Together, they are the sum of the fullness of the true light. One of these aeons is called the Logos, or Son, S-O-N. Now, for us Christians, that should immediately ring a bell. In the Bible, the Logos is Jesus Christ, the Son of God. However, in Gnosticism, the idea is not the same. Gnosticism teaches that the Logos is the highest in the hierarchy of aeons, and yet is still below the true light. It was the first thing produced by the true light. It's sometimes referred to as form of the formless, body of the bodiless, and face of the invisible, among other things. Now, the lowest aeon in the hierarchy is known as Sophia. Gnostic literature states that Sophia was so low in the hierarchy that she was actually close enough to the physical world to be able to interact with it. It's taught that Sophia rebelled against the rules of the other aeons by committing the sin of creating a being without her male aeon counterpart. So consider this passage from Gnostic literature. Quote, "A thing came out of her which was imperfect and different from her appearance because she had created it without her consort." End quote. Now, also consider some of the things that this thing, some of the claims this thing makes and the interpretation the Gnostic text provides. So, quote, "For he said, I am God, and there is no other God beside me, for he is ignorant of his strength, the place from which he had come. And when he saw the creation which surrounds him, and the multitude of angels around him which had come forth from him, he said to them, I am a jealous God, and there is no other God beside me. But by announcing this, he indicated to the angels who attended him that there exists another God, for if there were no other one, of whom would he be jealous?" End quote. Now, this thing is known by many names in Gnosticism. It's called the demiurge, meaning the maker. It's also called Yaltabaoth, meaning child come forth, Saklas, meaning fool, and Samael, meaning blind one. In Gnostic literature, this being, this thing, is actually Yahweh, the God of the Bible. So clearly, Gnostic teaching is a very different, disrespectful, and insulting view of our God. Now, the reason that I bring this up is that at times, people teaching New Age theology and or Gnosticism will make it seem like they believe essentially the same thing as the Bible. They will sometimes try and pair the two to make it more palatable for Christians. In reality, nothing could be further from the truth. Gnostic teaching and anything relating to it are strictly forbidden by the Bible. This, of course, is found in numerous places, but probably the best example is found in the New Testament book of 1 John. Chapter 2, looks like we're 22 through 23. It says, "Who is a liar but he that denieth that Jesus is the Christ? He is Antichrist that denieth the Father and the Son. Whoever denieth the Son, the same hath not the Father. He that acknowledgeth the Son hath the Father also." Hey everyone. Concerning the economically unstable times that we live in, it is a great idea to convert some of your savings into real money. Now, there is a big difference between real money and what we call money, which is actually currency. So our dollar is currency, which fluctuates. Real money, like silver, is a store of value over time. The best way to think of it is like this. If you had saved $1,000 in cash back in the late 60s, the late 1960s, that $1,000 would still be $1,000 today, but it would buy you significantly less today due to inflation. Now, if you saved that same $1,000 in silver back in the 1960s, it would be around $28,000 today. So one of the best ways to protect your purchasing power is in real money, more specifically, silver. Now, you can buy and have the metal shipped discreetly to your door, and what most people don't know is that you can actually convert your IRA or even your 401k into physical silver rather than having all your life savings tied up in the paper fiat system, which is, of course, subject to hyperinflation. So go to dailyrenegade.com right now and click on the Cornerstone Asset Metals banner and sign up to get your free silver report. One of the financial experts will speak with you and find out the best way to protect your savings going forward in these uncertain times. You can also click on the link in the description below that goes directly to cornerstoneassetmetals.com. Make sure you tell them that Josh Peck at Daily Renegade sent you. It is time to stop trusting the evil beast financial system of the world and protect your assets today. So, Gnostic teaching clearly denies the Father and the Son. They reinterpret the whole thing. The teaching of Gnosticism, according to the standards set by 1 John, would be considered as opposed to Christ or Antichrist. Thus, Gnosticism and Christianity could not be further apart in theology. They don't mesh. Same with New Age. Now, the reason that Gnostics consider their version of God, also known as the demiurge, to be a fool, is because he claims he's the only God. To a Gnostic, there are many gods called aeons. Therefore, Gnostics believe they have knowledge that not even the demiurge himself has. That is why they consider him to be ignorant, blind, and foolish. Gnostics also consider the demiurge to be quite unreasonable and malicious because he does not want humanity to know the truth about these other gods. Gnosticism teaches that the demiurge created angels. However, the angels are called archons and never rebelled. In fact, as Gnostic literature states, the archons obediently joined with the demiurge to create Adam. So that is to say, the demiurge needed the help of the angels to create man. Adam was created to be a slave to the demiurge and the archons. Sophia eventually saw what was going on and took pity on mankind, and through this, Sophia realized her mistake, and a spark of the divine was put into Adam. This is how Gnosticism explains Adam being flesh and spirit instead of a mindless slave. Now, interestingly enough, according to Gnostic texts, Adam had the spark, but Eve did not. Eve is considered as less than Adam. There is no idea of equality between men and women, or even different yet equally important roles in Gnostic literature like there is in the Bible. Gnosticism makes the clear and incredibly mistaken distinction that a woman is less than a man. Now, later on, the aeons, including the Holy Spirit, Christos, and Jesus, which are all different beings in Gnosticism, these aeons decided they wanted Sophia back to once again complete the fullness that was lost. Jesus appeared to Sophia as a type of cosmic cross to try and bring her back. Sophia then is reunited with her counterpart, the cosmic Jesus, as he becomes her bridegroom. Now, many of these terms probably sound very familiar. These are terms used throughout the Bible, but make no mistake, they are certainly not expressing the same ideas. It is this type of Gnostic teaching that gave birth to New Age ideas, such as the cosmic Jesus and Christ consciousness. Now, unfortunately, many of these strange beliefs and interpretations have made their way into quantum physics. This is the reason that background information into Gnosticism is necessary when getting into anything having to do with quantum physics or science, because it's important to show that proper spiritual and biblical discernment is needed in examining some of the claims and interpretation that modern science postulates. It's also important to recognize that these deceitful interpretations should not be enough for us to throw science out altogether. Using biblical discernment, we can look at the scientific observations and interpret them without having to resort to New Age and Gnostic theology. When we have the proper interpretation of Scripture and the proper interpretation of scientific observation, they should both agree in full. They both should act as two pillars holding up the true understanding of reality. If they don't agree, then one or both of the pillars are broken and must be fixed. Otherwise, the whole structure will come crashing down. I stated earlier that there are two opposing views on how the spiritual world works. Gnosticism teaches one, and the Bible teaches another. Now, of course, there are more ways to look at the spiritual world, but most are an offshoot of one of these two originalities. Now, it's my opinion that if we want to know the truth about the spiritual world, we need to consult the Bible. In my humble opinion, the demonically inspired beliefs of Gnosticism should play no part in a search for the truth. One good example of why I believe in the legitimacy of the Bible over Gnostic texts is the vast amount of fulfilled prophecy in the Bible. I don't know any other being, whether physical or spiritual, that has ever written a prophetic text with 100% accuracy besides the God of the Bible. And this is something that Gnosticism lacks. All right, so that's what I have for you today. A bit of a shorter episode, so I'm just going to put this full one up on YouTube. I'm not going to do the half and half. A little bit shorter today. I have a busy week. I'm also getting over illness. I'm all right, but getting over that. So I'm going to keep it a little short today. But again, if you want the notes to this, you can go to dailyrenegade.com, become a member, and again, not only do you get the PDF that way of all the videos where that applies, but you also get full videos of everything we do, and you also get early access. I always post these videos on Daily Renegade before I post them anywhere else, whether on X or Rumble or YouTube, anywhere. It goes on Daily Renegade first. And again, If you don't want to download a file and you just want to read it on a web page, you can go to joshpeck.substack.com, and there you will also get my you'll also get the audio only podcast versions of everything we do. So, like I said before, best thing to do is combine those, and then you get the best of both worlds. All the links are in the description below. Please leave me a comment on what you think about all of this, and don't forget to subscribe and click the bell to turn on all notifications. Even if you think you're subscribed, go and check, because YouTube has been unsubscribing a lot of people, which is frustrating. Almost daily, I get comments from people saying that YouTube unsubscribed them. So just go ahead and make sure that you're subscribed, and again, click the bell to turn on all notifications. So, with all of that being said, thank you so much for joining me on this episode of the Sharpening Report. And until next time, love you all. Take care, and God bless. You know, if you are a Bible-believing Christian who opposes the kingdom of darkness trying to run the world right now, then you are a renegade to the satanic system. We here at Daily Renegade wear that badge proudly. So, if you're a renegade as well, head on over to dailyrenegade.com right now and get a membership today. You'll get our full catalog of Sharpening Report episodes and Daily Renegade update videos on topics such as Bible prophecy, science, technology, the Nephilim, aliens, and so much more. All of our episodes at Daily Renegade are early access, so as a member, you'll get the videos before anyone else does. Daily Renegade also offers videos not available anywhere else due to social media censorship. We also have a community page only for members where we can all fellowship together without fear of censorship. It's basically the best of Facebook and YouTube rolled into one without any of the garbage. Memberships are only $10 a month or $100 a year, and if you can do it, I suggest getting the $100 a year because it's cheaper in the long run, and essentially you get 2 months for free that way. So come join our family of renegades at dailyrenegade.com right now. The link is in the description below, and we'll see you there.